Welcome to Raising the Bar. I am Ashley Vargas, and I help lifters feel more confident adding weight to their barbell. Hello, lifters, and welcome to episode number 8 of Raising the Bar. I'm really excited about today's episode because the principles that we're going to talk about are going to apply to so many things that are outside of barbell training, and these concepts are truly going to translate into every aspect of your life. So even if you're not a lifter, you're definitely going to get something out of this one. Do you ever wonder why so few may actually make it to the top? It's often said that it's because they have natural talent, or they know the right people, they have the right connections, they have the money, or maybe they just even got lucky. What really sets those people with natural talent apart from the elite level athletes is the athlete mindset. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, when I talk about the athlete mindset, it doesn't just apply to athletes. Like I said before, even if you're not a barbell lifter, you're still going to get something out of this episode today because the principles are going to apply to anyone with a goal or a passion, whether that's in fitness, whether it's your career, whether it's entrepreneurship, it's all going to be the same. So, what exactly is the athlete mindset? There are so many different characteristics that set athletes apart from just people with talent, but I am going to talk about 4 specifically today. And the first one is going to be that they are very clear with their goals. So, athletes, when they go into the gym, they don't just work out. They train with intent and they train with strategy in order to obtain the goal that they have set for themselves. Athlete or not, you should adopt this strategy and apply it to anything that you're working towards. For purposes of this conversation, we'll stick with the training goal. So, your training goals should be as clear as possible with no room for interpretation. From there, you need to work backwards in order to figure out what the best training and nutrition protocol is going to be in order to achieve it. So, you can't just set your goal, you have to have a step by step game plan in order to get there. We don't just start at the elite level, regardless if you're athletes or not. Like, obviously, we can't just start at the top. We have to start at the bottom, and we have to build a foundation that we can grow upon in order to, climb that ladder to success. And we know that progress, of course, is never linear. So we have to be very clear with a well-crafted game plan that is going to make the setbacks, the hardships, and the bad training days that inevitably are going to come easier to work through when you know exactly what you're working towards. Once your goal is established, it then becomes your why. So, why are you taking the time to train? Why are you utilizing your resources to train? Why should you keep going when it gets hard? The answer to that question will always come back to your clear and defined goal. That is why it is so important to set that before you even get started. That way, when all of those other factors, and when I say factors, I mean life, when all of those things happen, you know exactly why you started and you know exactly why you need to keep going. The second characteristic of those with the athlete's mindset is discipline. The notion of always being motivated is really nice, but in reality, your motivation will not always be with you. When you are setting new goals, when you're starting a new training block, when it's Monday, those are typically times where motivation is at a high. Unfortunately, that motivational high inevitably is going to dissolve. And when that happens, those who do not have the athlete mindset will find excuses and find reasons not to take the necessary steps to achieve their goal or achieve their why. Athletes understand that motivation is not always going to be there. Where those who are at the elite level really set themselves apart is in the practice of discipline. That discipline has to kick in when your motivation is gone. Having your eyes set on the bigger picture goal and knowing that what you want most is going to have to take priority over what you want now. Developing this skill is one of the hardest things to do, which is typically why only high level performers truly possess it. Developing discipline is going to be key to any lifter's success, both inside and outside the gym. I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. The skills that are learned under a barbell transfer into all aspects of your life. So in this case, discipline learned through barbell training or any type of training will make you more disciplined in other areas of your life, which ultimately is going to make you more successful. The third characteristic of the athlete's mindset is mental toughness. And the skill of discipline, which we just talked about, plays a really big role in mental toughness. They truly do go hand in hand. Training for a sport or training to hit any specific goal is not easy. It is both physically and mentally taxing, and the physical demands are often a lot easier to handle than the mental. You can incorporate proper recovery. You can take a rest day. You can do all these things to help aid with the physical demands that training takes. However, the mental and being mentally tough is an entirely different beast, because often this usually comes into play and is really tested outside of the gym. And it comes into play when your friends and family who may not live the same lifestyle that you do and have different goals want you to come out and be social. They want you to go out to eat. They want you to come out for drinks. They want you to do all of these fun things. And having an athlete's mindset and putting your goals first doesn't mean that you cannot have any resemblance of a social life. That's not what I'm saying. But what it does mean is that you need to be very selective with how often and to what extent you partake in those social activities. Oftentimes, your friends and family may not understand your lifestyle choices, and it's very common for them to unknowingly pressure you, and try to convince you to set those goals aside and choose the more social activity, or choose the unhealthy food, or choose the tequila, or whatever the case may be. However, that mental toughness is really tested in those situations, and that's when you have to put your goals first. And of course, you want to appease your friends and, make sure that they're happy and make sure that you're spending time with them. And as a habitual people pleaser, this is something that was very hard for me to learn. And it took me a long time to feel comfortable turning people down. And at this stage in my journey, turning down events, turning down food, turning down drinks has become so much easier. And that just came with practice. And I'm able to do that now without any guilt. And really, my close friends and family have learned to understand my lifestyle and understand my goals, and don't pressure me anymore. Like, they'll still invite me, but they also understand that they can't take it personally if I say no. And so commonly what happens is when you start to change your own habits and you develop these goals as it relates to fitness, and you've set your game plan, and your friends and family have noticed these changes in you, the first thing that they're going to do is try and get you to set those goals aside to do the more fun things, right? And again, that's not done with any ill intent, but that's just, wanting you to be social with them. And then they'll start asking questions about your lifestyle changes. And then they're going to start asking you how you do it. And then they're going to start asking you for tips. And then eventually, you've taken that uncomfortable situation and turned it into an inspiring one. And before you know it, people are following you on that same path. And if there's one thing that I can say that is a positive thing, as far as developing that mental toughness, is that you usually inspire other people to follow suit and help them develop and establish their goals. And then you get to watch them succeed as well. The fourth characteristic of the athlete mindset is athletes are always going to make training the priority. As a coach, I have heard every excuse in the book as to why someone can't get a training session in. You name it, I've heard it. The number one reason, though, is usually a lack of time. And when you pull it all back, every single person has the same 24 hours in a day. Do some people live busier lives than others? Yes, of course they do. Everyone lives a different lifestyle and everyone has different responsibilities, but even athletes, high-level athletes, live the same type of life everyone else does. Now, we're not talking about, NFL or the NBA where their job is actually to train, but talking about competitive powerlifters, competitive weightlifters. They have jobs, they have kids, they have families, they have responsibilities that are outside of training. The only difference is those with the athlete mentality do not use their responsibilities as an excuse to skip training. They make training a priority because in the long term, they know that if they are doing what is making them happy, keeping them physically healthy and mentally healthy, they will be a better support system and a better provider for those who are dependent on them and for those that they love. The athlete's mindset does not leave any room for excuses. Training is always a priority, and other activities are going to be planned around that. Once you transition your way of thinking, you will be able to make better scheduling decisions. And if it's truly important to you, you are going to find the time. Athletes get very obsessive about their daily routines, and I am 100% guilty about this. I live and breathe by my calendar, but they prioritize their tasks in accordance with their goals. I'm not saying that everyone has to be absolutely obsessed with this, but I still think that there's a lesson to be learned about establishing priorities. When you take a step back and look at your daily routine or daily chaos, if that's more of an accurate statement for you, you need to ask yourself a few things. Do I have consistency? Do I have repetition? Does it include an action plan? Does it have focus? And if your daily routine does not have these things, cleaning that up and creating space for success is going to be priority number one. Once consistency, repetition, focus, and action is implemented into your daily routine, you will be able to make time to work towards your goals. Once you identify that time that you're going to carve out for your training, you can't let anything get in the way of that. It's no longer optional. I'm pretty sure in the beginning of this episode, I said there were 4 characteristics that we're going to talk about. There's actually 5, so you're getting a bonus. The 5th one is those with the athlete mindset own it 100%. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you are taking full responsibility for your goal, the process, and the result. And in my opinion, this is what really transforms those with talent into elite level athletes or really elite level anything. This is because they have recognized that their performance is 100% within their control. If you have developed discipline, made training your priority, and have become mentally tough, owning it is just naturally going to fall into place because you have structured everything else around success, and the areas of opportunity are easily going to be identified. Taking ownership and responsibility means there's no room for blame on external factors. If you are setting clear goals and again, making that training a priority and practicing discipline, and if you're still not getting the results that you want, you need to reevaluate. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong or need to place blame on yourself or any other external factors. It just means that you need to reevaluate the strategy because there may be flaws in the game plan that you didn't see when you originally created it. There may be factors that you didn't consider. There may be many reasons, but ultimately it is your responsibility to acknowledge that and strategize. Remember, I said that progress is never linear, and you may have to go through this process several times before you're back on course, and that's totally okay. As an athlete, for example, you are at risk for injury. No one ever plans for this, but it very well could be your reality at some point. It may slow down the process in achieving the goal, but as long as you have that strategy in place, eventually it's going to happen. Developing these 5 skills, not 4, but 5, are only going to make you more successful in the gym as an athlete, and they're also going to make you more successful in all other areas of your life. Nothing will ever go perfectly, but with these skills, it's much easier to manage setbacks and course correct when needed in order to keep progressing towards your ultimate goal. So, as always, I'm going to leave you with major takeaways from today. The first one, your motivation will not always stay with you. Discipline must be learned in order to eliminate excuses. The second one, you need to make yourself and your goals a priority in order to help others. And 3, you own your results 100% no matter what. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to talking with you again next Wednesday. As a special thank you for tuning into this episode, I am providing you with free access to my most recent Athlete's Guide, 3 drills to improving your squat depth. Make sure to click the link in the notes of this podcast to download your copy today. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and then share this podcast on all of your social media platforms. And I will see you on the next episode of Raising the Bar.